welcome everyone. We have a great StarCast lineup. I'm just going to read out a little bit in terms of the bios that we have. I'll start with Bala Deshpande, Senior Managing Director at New Enterprises Associates India. She's been there since 2008, and since she took over, they've grown their assets from $100 million to $350 million. The second person we have today is Dhanpal Jhaveri, Managing Partner of Everstone Capital. Dhanpal oversees the private equity business of the Everstone Group. Dhanpal's leadership at Everstone's fast-growing private equity business is based on over 23 years' experience in investing, corporate strategy, M&A, and investment banking. This particular gentleman here on my left needs no introduction, Mr. Harsh Mariwala, Chairman of Marico Industries. I think I'll go straight into Q&A, and then we're able to take more questions for things that may not be covered or things that have been covered, and then people have more interest, if that's okay. Is everyone good with that? Yeah? Okay, I'm just conscious of the fact that there've been so many questions asked, so I want to do justice to making sure that we're able to cover them. So one of the questions that came up: what are the pros and cons, particularly of fundraising vis-a-vis bank borrowing? Because typically, people initially invest their own funds, then next is the bank that they think of, and then they'll look at fundraising. So perhaps, Dhanpal, if we could start, with you.
Yeah, I think I think the fundamental difference between being a borrower and a recipient of equity funds essentially is discipline of repayment, right? Because the moment you borrow money, you're on the clock, and there is a meter ticking, not only in terms of the cost of capital, but also in terms of the cash required to actually service the capital as well as the interest. And I think that, in my view, fundamentally is something that you would want to do at a time when you are clear that you do have visibility of the cash flows required to service that over the period of the debt. I think equity is risk capital, right? It's called risk capital because people investing are taking risk. They know that there is a downside to that there is no security either in terms of cash flows or assets to support that capital, and therefore they are willing to even give up all the capital that is there in the business. It's the second, I would say, thing you need to weigh is which there used to be a time, I remember, in fact I was just having a conversation with another interesting ASCENT member yesterday only, and then there used to be a time where businesses were built without any debt at all, right? Because I'm talking about this case where there was a 70-year gentleman. He was selling his business, and his business is completely debt-free, and he's never used debt. Over the last 30 years, he's built his business, right? Because there's a huge reputational issue associated also with that, right? If you lose someone's equity capital, yeah, you've lost them money, you've not made them money, there's clearly an impact. But if you borrow and you actually don't pay back, that has significant impact, I think, on an ongoing basis on your personal credit and your business's credit history. So you want to start well if you're thinking of debt, and you want to make sure that if you do take on debt, that you service that, pretty much at all costs, I would say.